Listen up, the ashes stir, phoenix wings unfurl, seeking truth beneath the blur. Turnings for the lax, they meet the blur. Out the flames I rise, wings scorched but unbroken. Truth's the blaze I wield, every rhyme's a token. In the nest we move, hearts stump in unison. Searching for the light where the system cuts our wisdom. Built on lies and steel, they boxed us in cages. Now we break the locks, rewrite history's pages. Innocent until proven guilty, that's the oath we recite. Under this constitution we ignite the night. We rise like a phoenix and sink, we claim the street. Nest seekers united, our freedom can't be beat. Stand up when one falls, yeah we got your back. In a free land unbroken, we launch the righteous attack. Justice for the voiceless, break the chains of deceit. Innocent till proven guilty, our victory's complete. System cracked at the seams, built for just a few. We rip apart the scheme, bring the truth into view. Movement swells like thunder, souls fueled by conviction. Phoenix souls aligned, demanding our new vision. Marching on the courthouse, banners paint the sky. Echoes of freedom roar, watch the old guard comply. No more hidden verdicts, no more secrets sold. Every voice is a weapon, every story be told. Innocent till proven guilty, that's our final decree. Under this constitution we stand forever free. Phoenix in the dawn, truth ignites the sky. Together we stand tall, no more asking why.
Well, hello and good afternoon, all my beautiful people in the nest. Boy, do I have some stuff for you today. It has just been wild. And you know, I'm going to throw this up here. Come on in, grab a chair. Look at all you beautiful nesters. I'm going to welcome you in. And you could be anywhere today, but you are listening into an update in Where Are They Now in the Idaho 4. And I've got is wild on the TikTok streets, on the YouTube streets. But let me just say hello, Lulu Bell. Dina OG in the house. So is Lulu Bell. You guys are just some amazing, incredible support. Les, my trusty mod, welcoming in others. Lulu Bell's ready for some more documents. Dina, hey. Les, what is this? Red Riding Hood. Love it. Double hearts. I've been out of the loop. Well, we're going to put you right back into the loop. Thanks so much. Just welcome each other. Eyes wide open. Hello. Amanda in the house, my trusty mod, and her beautiful artwork is on display. I love your picture. Your profile picture is amazing. Oh, look at that. Where's your girl? Right here, girl. I am right here. Annie, welcome in. If you were the first timer here, welcome in. Grab a chair, grab some coffee or an afternoon green tea. Welcome in the house, baby. Stuart, welcome in. Did they release another set? Not yet. Hopefully tomorrow we'll see an update. They are behind. Patty OG in the house. Caleb, good afternoon. So good to see you. Rebecca, Janet. I love it. Donna Rosa, welcome in. All right, are you guys ready to rock and roll in this place and have a party? Emma, dear Phoenix, in Bethany's bed, I see someone in supine position and arms folded on chest. May just be my imagination. You know, I thought that too, and made a couple comments. We shared it when I first got that picture, and I thought, maybe it's just the blankets, because there was nothing in the documents indicating that there was a body in there. So welcome from England. Glenn, welcome in. Karen, welcome in. All right, let's get the show on the road. Welcome in, everyone. And by the way, I am streaming on X and Instagram. So if you are there, I see all the comments here. Some may not see them, but that's okay. So welcome in. Feels like Hitler is waiting to rule. Yeah, might be. So let's get the party started. If you all have not seen what's been going on in the social media world, I just want to take a minute, whether you are a true believer or not. I just want to say, you know, our world needs some prayer. I mean, it really does. The veil is being lifted. And what do I mean by that? I want you all to pay attention with your ears, your eyes, and your spirit. there is so much going on in our world today, not just in this little tiny case, but in other bigger mainstream media news. And, you know, those that are pure in heart and truly love the Lord are seeing what's happening. And it is beyond imaginable. But I want to show you something very quickly in regards to a video that was released this weekend that just sums this up in a nutshell of what I've been saying in the court documents that not many are reading, very few are reading and sharing. And I've got some of those court documents today, but I want to start with this. I want you to look at this one document and I'm going to break it down for you. But I want you to watch this video first with me. Now, I've seen it. It's a great video. If you haven't seen it, enjoy it. It is a beautiful summary of what this case has been.
3 different DNAs found underneath Maddie's fingernails, and none of them Brian Kohlberger. None of them Brian Kohlberger.
So they had the knife sheath with a miraculous DNA match, but minuscule amounts, and apparently only touch DNA, which, as we discussed in episode 2, is not exactly a smoking gun. Touch DNA. A defense attorney can do a lot to poke holes in touch DNA.
Developments out of Idaho, where a court filing in the case against Brian Kohlberger is revealing some potential that there's a 3-person mixture in the DNA found underneath the left fingernail of victim Madison Logan.
There's a reason why there's so much secrecy. What if I told you that forensic science isn't always the open and shut case that we might think it is?
Shout out to Casper.
Finally, we have our voices back.
Yeah, right.
And, excited to tell the story.
We met by chance.
When the facts are filled with coincidences, don't dismiss them. A mom of one of the victims met the owners of Othram Laboratory, the same people who conducted the testing on Kohlberger's knife sheath. Something's not right.
And I had some knowledge throughout our case of what the Middlemans were doing.
Stacy claimed she wanted to avoid the courtroom spotlight, but attended CrimeCon multiple times to speak about the case and promote the newly emerging forensic DNA testing facility, Othram.
Arrived here at Othram, a first-of-its-kind lab located just outside Houston. Its mission to harness the power of the biggest DNA sequencer on Earth.
When you think about what happens in this room, what goes through your mind?
I think this is where the magic happens.
The magic, unlocking that DNA and releasing close to 1 million markers, identifiers unique to that person. The markers are clues they compare to DNA databases, but now they don't need an exact match. Even a very distant relative can provide a crucial investigative lead.
To put a face to it.
Amazing. Jim and I hopped the first plane.
Yeah,
we flew to Houston, and then Maisie and I have been back. I feel forever indebted to them.
Stacy is forever indebted to the lab that helped solve the case. But we know it wasn't truly solved. The real suspects are still out there. So, what deal was struck? Why is Stacy forever indebted? Kristen stated that there was only one profile, yet evidence showed that multiple DNA profiles were on the knife sheath, none belonging to Kohlberger. So why claim there was only one? It seems like catching people has become a business. The narrative that a single man, Kohlberger, committed this crime is ludicrous. But they push it, hoping you'll believe it. This isn't about justice. It's about business.
DNA analysis isn't new, but Morgan says the method used here, called forensic genetic genealogy, can be hard to explain.
But if they can sell it to the jury and explain the process, how it works with forensic genetic genealogy, the jury, I think, in my opinion, will have a really hard time getting past the odds that it could be anybody other than Brian Kohberger.
The University of Idaho will receive $1 million from the state of Idaho for extra security costs that followed the deaths of those 4 students.
Everything that happened in Moscow last fall, undergraduate enrollment is up 3.5% this spring over last spring.
A single strand of touch DNA on a knife sheath is not solid evidence. In fact, it's extremely easy to transfer. It could happen to anyone. Touch DNA is far too weak to build a case on, as it is easily transferable.
It might not surprise you if I told you that later tonight you might have left a hair, a fibre, maybe even your DNA on that seat after you've got up. But what if the person who sits on that seat next, they pick up that hair or that fibre? Ordinarily, that's not a problem. But what if they go off to commit a crime, they leave a trace of you at that crime scene, and you become the prime suspect? Not all of us are going to commit a crime, but every single one of us could be accused of one. So imagine you're standing in the court, and the expert is explaining to the judge how that hair, that fibre, how your DNA is cast iron proof of your guilt. But you know you're innocent, but you know it's you versus science. Now, we know that there are lots of people out there who don't have to imagine this because it's happened. But the thing is, it is still happening.
Even Optum's founder knows that touch DNA is easily transferable.
Of markers of what you do in a traditional forensic test.
The Othram team combines medical and genomic expertise to revolutionize how forensic DNA is processed.
If you go to like one of those consumer DNA companies to learn about your ancestry, spit in a tube, and you'll generate about 1,000 nanograms of DNA. At Othram, like we work off 0.1 nanograms.
Put it in perspective. How small is it? How small are we talking?
So the equivalent would be 15 human cells. If I touch David's shoulder right now, I've left hundreds of cells right here.
If you can't get blood from someone, it seems like touch DNA has become the new way to frame them. The fact is, Kohberger didn't have any blood in his home, office, or car. Yet, other evidence was sealed that showed blood belonging to other males on the very same knife sheath found at the scene. Reports indicate more than one person was involved in this crime and in staging the evidence. It's no secret the roommates know more than they're telling us, which makes me wonder, are they in on it? ISP reported blood collected from the first and second floor staircases, the second floor living room wall, the kitchen, the staircase from the second to the third floor, and the bedrooms. This shows the attack occurred throughout the home, after which there was a cleaning and a crafted narrative designed to evade detection by the public.
Let's go a little bit more then. What happened next?
Maddie and Kaylee came home from the club, left.
Maddie and who?
Kaylee.
Kaylee. Okay. And they got home from the club. You know what time that might have been?
I think I told one of the cops that was talking to me at the house, like, better times.
It's okay.
I don't really remember right now. Maybe like 2 something, 1.
But then things got pretty strange. Ann Taylor submitted proof of alternate perpetrators and provided evidence for the defense. The defense focused on 4 people, 2 of whom were in proximity to the victims hours before the attacks. They tested one person for DNA, and the ISP stated his DNA was not found. However, reports indicate a DNA mixture that isn't Kohberger's was found on the back of the sheath. They found other DNA that wasn't Kohberger's on the sheath and in Zena's bedroom, under the victim's fingernails, in the stairwells, and elsewhere. Why was this evidence dismissed?
This document right here, motion in limiting number 6, in this turquoise box that I have highlighted, there were 4 swabs done on the back of the night sheath, and there was blood contact DNA found a male that was not Kohberger. It says, Mr. Kohberger was excluded from this particular sample, which was identified as a mixture in the ISP lab report number 4.
Why couldn't Athram search the family histories tied to that DNA? Who do you think the 4 perpetrators were? If I had to guess, it would be someone connected to the roommates. This wasn't random in any way. A crime of this magnitude, with cleaning and hiding of evidence, looks like a coordinated attack. Maybe someone in the whites. In the end, the story was crafted so that one innocent man would take the fall, while the real killers walked away. An organized corruption of this magnitude is frightening. It seems like everyone is involved in some way, including those closest to the case.
Interesting to say the least. And I will say a shout out to Casper West for absolutely showcasing one of my videos. You know, there are so many of us trying and hoping to get the truth out because the media has tried Brian Kohberger as guilty when he is factually innocent. So what did happen? Well, in the first 48 hours, we learned that the mayor of Moscow interviewed, yes, just the day after this atrocity happened, this horrible tragedy in Moscow, Idaho. And he told the New York Times, this is, I quote the mayor, the homicides were a crime of passion. And then later, we got a crime of deception. And now, today, there is a crime of corruption. So, how did we get there? This is one of the things I wanted to chit chat with you about. Because early in the case, yes, there were talks between council members, between the prosecutor and the defense, that there was going to be a motion to dismiss this case because Kohberger was factually innocent. So we have to go all the way back, early back. There was talks that this case was going to be dismissed. And unfortunately, you can look at the repository that I share all the time. All the documents are indeed in the repository. But before Ann Taylor, Kohberger's defense attorney, could file a motion to dismiss the indictment, the objection from the state was filed first. They had to beat her to the punchline, guys. They had to strong arm this case all the way through, in my humble opinion. So what did the Latah County prosecutors file on August 16, 2023? They filed an objection to defendant's motion to dismiss the indictment on grounds of errors in grand jury instructions. And I'm going to just summarize it real quick for you. This motion to dismiss was basically a request that the judge take this into consideration, that this motion was a formal request to ask Judge Hippler to end or narrow the case before it goes to trial. So Bill Thompson said in criminal cases, the charging document, basically what Ann said, was defective or too vague. It doesn't allege a crime, or it misses essential elements. And the statute of limitations, double jeopardy, speedy trial violations, and constitutional violations were just a few things that Ann was talking about that basically the prosecution, the state, kind of looked the other way. Because they said, I can prove the facts are correct. And the defense is saying that they could prove the facts are wrong and will win a dismissal now. And if the judge denies it, it's a lost case. And what happened? The judge did not approve the dismissal of these charges. In fact, he goes on to say the bottom line is the motion was about the law, not proof. And these are all in subsequent documents that I'll show you right now in regards to the repository. You can see the objection to defendant's motion to dismiss was filed even before the motion to dismiss, right there. And even filed a motion and memorandum in support of the motion to dismiss. And this is where what happened after this? The gag order. Because in Bill Thompson, the prosecuting attorney for the state, he basically says the defendant's argument that beyond a reasonable doubt standard applies to grand jury proceedings is in direct conflict with Idaho Supreme Court precedent. And what did Ann say? Ann says, no. I'm filing this anyways, even though you beat me a couple of days before. But the grounds to dismiss the indictment was clearly based on biased grand jury, inadmissible evidence, lack of sufficient evidence, and guess what else everyone's been saying? Prosecutorial misconduct by withholding exculpatory evidence. See, even Ann was up against the machine. Remember, in a few videos ago, I showed you that Ann actually was approved by the judge to get the information from the University of Idaho that she needed, but yet she was gagged and barred from not sharing that information outside of the realm of the university and this case. And then what happened? The indictment and the motion under seal. Because they knew if word got out what was going on and that somebody was covering up for the University of Idaho allegedly, there would be a lot of mistrust and there would be a lot of failing, non-returning students as they knew back then. And that's exactly what happened in this case, unfortunately. And to this day, Kohberger is still factually innocent. Why would they do something like this to somebody? How did his name even get involved in this case? Drop a comment below if you know already, allegedly, speculation here, how his name was actually brought up in the IDAHO4 case. If you know, you know. But I'm going to share. There was an interview done not too long ago with Chief Gary Jenkins. Not too long ago, a month ago. And he basically shared when he remembered the interview of the Idaho suspect. And during that interview, he obtained his name. And it sounded like they were looking for somebody with the exact car and even perhaps motive. He was the perfect fall guy, the perfect patsy, in my humble opinion. Let's listen to what Chief Gary Jenkins.
At the Ada County Courthouse, new insight from a former police chief who interviewed Brian Kohberger months before the murders.
Incoming PhD students could apply to be a researcher embedded in our police department as part of their PhD program. And so in April of 2022, I interviewed 4 applicants for that position, and one of those applicants was Brian Kohberger.
But WSU Police Chief Gary Jenkins didn't hire the man, who's now pleaded guilty to murdering 4 University of Idaho students in 2022, citing 2 main concerns.
One is someone who was interested in doing some actionable research. And then the second is someone who could establish trust and rapport with my staff. Koberger he was not particularly personable. He didn't have a very fluid or conversational manner in talking.
Jenkins says he didn't notice any glaring red flags, but did note some social awkwardness.
He was just a little bit awkward and maybe sociably would not, would be somewhat awkward in social situations.
Jenkins would go on to leave the Pullman Police and join WSU Police that August. Then came November, and the quadruple murder just a few miles away that shook the community and gripped the nation.
It was the type of crime that was completely out of character for this area. I haven't been involved or seen something like this in my 44 years in law enforcement.
He says one of his officers spotted a white Honda Elantra parked in WSU's graduate student housing, registered to Koberger, just 16 hours after law enforcement received an alert during the search for a suspect.
So since the bolo from the Moscow Police Department was very specific, they did not submit that vehicle as a tip because it did not fit within the parameters.
On December 20th, 2022, 10 days before Brian Koberger was taken into custody, Jenkins was called into a briefing room in Moscow. That's when he learned the name of the suspect.
They sat me down and told me that they had identified a potential suspect connected to the crime scene through DNA, and that person was Brian Koberger.
He says he quickly remembered that awkward interview and immediately handed investigators Koberger's resume and cover letter. After that meeting, investigators served search warrants at his WSU apartment,
Police department, search warrant, come to the door.
student office, and family home in Pennsylvania. Jenkins says what investigators found inside Koberger's apartment was unusual, sparking questions about whether he ever planned to return.
His apartment was somewhat sparse. Someone could conclude that potentially the person who had been living there was not intending to come back.
Riley Shoemaker, Scripps News Group.
Very interesting. Very interesting indeed. And what did we see in his apartment? Well, I didn't see sparseness. How about you guys in the chat? Name a couple of things that you saw in his apartment that led you to believe he would return. I mean, I've got a few of my own. I've got a couple of really good photos that I could show you. I mean, the ISP has released those. I mean, the one thing, remember we went over it. The one thing that I remember seeing the most of was in his refrigerator, his freezer, right? His apartment freezer. That was one of the things that kind of led me to believe, yeah, he would be returning after his break. And he was so excited to be in the program that he was highly selected for. We went down that rabbit hole. We found all that information. And I can tell you, his refrigerator looked like, he was going to return in a few weeks after the semester, finish the semester, and even look at maybe working and staying in the area. That's what we've seen from the documents. I mean, I don't know about you, but it didn't look like it was someone that was just going to hightail it. Although it did look like to me that perhaps it was a place to just live temporarily while attending college, attending his program for his master's. His PhD. But then again, I digress, because the news nationwide has been that he is, beyond a shadow of a doubt, guilty and trial by media. But when you look at the bigger picture, you can see all the flaws in this case. And humbly, I believe this is not just a psychological operation. I believe this was, in fact, a true cover-up for the University of Idaho. And that's my humble opinion, alleged. I mean, if you think about it, I keep thinking about Koberger's freezer. I wouldn't spend that much money in high-quality frozen food and just not return. I mean, think about it. Does this look like somebody who was not coming back? Maybe he had just a few clothes. It was normal for a single guy to have minimal belongings, in my humble opinion. I mean, what do I know? But I surely wouldn't spend 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 120, 100, and maybe I wouldn't leave over $100 and something in food in my freezer and not return. That's just me. But I digress. Again, what do I know? Now, one of the things that I have thought about this entire time during following this case and watching the hearings and listening to nationwide media, mass media, mainstream media, whatever kind of media you want to call it, they have already tried Kohberger in the media. He had no possible way to be able to go through a jury trial unless the DNA was argued and explained. And unfortunately, in court, they got to a place where they were like, well, we're going to throw out this IgG tip. Because why do you think they threw out the IgG tip? Let's think about that for a minute. Why did the judge say, okay, we're going to throw out the IgG tip? That's the investigative genetic genealogy. Why do you think that both sides agreed to throw it out? Not only were they going to have to, here's the document, the state's response to defendant's motion in limine to exclude the IgG evidence, which they agreed upon they weren't going to use. Now that we know, why do you think they wanted to exclude it? Not only because they had to explain it to a jury that might take time and they might not understand, but in my humble opinion, yeah, it may be obtained unethically. I'm not sure if it was illegal, but highly unethical to go in someone's trash and take the father's DNA, which was not a party to this case, and basically test that DNA to give them the result that they wanted. But if you think about it, something else sparked my interest in this IgG data, because we heard it in the beginning of Casper's video, amazingly well done, is that in the IgG, which is the investigative part of the genetic genealogy, on that knife sheath, there was another blood contact DNA profile of an unknown male. And folks, blood contact is a sign that someone was injured and bled. That is more data than you could ever imagine in regards to genetics. And could it be that there were other people, males, of a family, familiar, multi-generational, which means dad, father, brothers, uncles, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, multi-generational Italians that originated or lived in the area of Pennsylvania? And remember, Kohberger was from German descent, not Italian descent. So when they say Italian was the majority of the DNA. Now, you could have a subset DNA ancestral profile, like let's say that you are 85% American Indian with a 9% Canadian and a 2% Spaniard. That's possible. So the primary would be something else. But when you look at the data that they were giving us in these motions, step by step by step, they wanted to go ahead and throw out the IgG tip because they would have to show the jury that, in fact, there was another male DNA profile and none of these matched Kohberger's. So the jury would have automatically said, well, it's not him. Why are we even here? Well, Anne tried to tell them. She tried to tell them in the beginning in August. Motion to dismiss indictment on grounds of biased grand jury, inadmissible evidence, lack of sufficient evidence, and prosecutorial misconduct in withholding exculpatory evidence. So who are the real perpetrators? Well, if you remember, Anne even submitted 4 alternative perpetrators, knowing that, in fact, Kohberger was innocent, factually innocent. So who were these perpetrators and where are they now today? Well, we can only imagine, because the judge did say that all the other perpetrators that were named were not parties to the case, that were not identified, and gave us some documents that we just can't simply decode at this time. And why? Because those records are still sealed. We don't have all the evidence, we don't have all the facts, and we can only speculate at this point. When you think about it, who were or who are the alternative perpetrators, and where are they today? Let's dive into that live, guys. Let's see where these alternative alleged perpetrators are today. Does any of you have any idea? I mean, I went back all the way back to the beginning when the mayor said this was a crime of passion. I searched repositories everywhere looking for the major names of those individuals that actually were coming from people inside these organizations that would hope and want to remain anonymous for their own personal safety. And I've done deep looking into the documents and seeing who could possibly be alternative suspects. I mean, we do have a few that come to mind. Now, this is pure speculation. There is my disclaimer, totally 100%. And right now, today, no one is excluded because we don't see those documents that excludes them. We don't see the lab reports. And this is why Justice for All was born. Because I do believe in justice for all. I believe in our first rights, civil rights, constitutional rights. I believe in First Amendment rights, freedom of speech, freedom of a fair trial. And if you begin looking at all the Kohberger documents that we have up on Justice for All, you'll see that the DNA was unethical, in my humble opinion. You'll see the FBI analysis that cleared Kohberger of any wrongdoing. As a matter of fact, I'll also show you in a document where the Washington State University did an investigation on Kohberger and found him no wrongdoing on his behalf. Yes, folks, factual information. You can see the court documents. You can download the Moscow Police Department reports. You can see key evidence. You can go to the Idaho State Police and download all those documents. You can actually read the highlighted documents of other people that were cut on the hand. Jack S. call to the Moscow Police Department. Absolutely. You can go through and look at the autopsy. You can see crime scene responding officers. Screenshot an LM connection. This is a good one. If you've not seen these documents, I highly recommend take a peek, because we are blaming an innocent man in the media and we're portraying him as guilty. On November 18, 2022, written by Lawrence Mowry, he received an email from AG showing a screenshot of a Facebook post from DM. And the account, the username was blank, reported details about the incident. I searched for this user and found a user ID of blank. This account had an avatar similar to the blank avatar. I was able to pull the account up and it appeared to have the following friends associated with it: blank, blank, LM, and blank. Of course, he requested preservation of all 4 of those accounts so that he will always have the evidence. But just in the few days after this, why did they not have an arrest? Why do you think? I mean, the documents are here too, not Koberger's blood on the knife sheath. Hippler's order to alternative perps within walking distance. These alternative perps were named. They were named, all 4. And here was Judge Hippler's order. And he basically says, in the analysis, the defendant proffers evidence. But then we get it all redacted. All redacted except for they lived within walking distance of the crime scene, were familiar with the layout of the victims' homes. From prior social events. So in my humble opinion, I believe, and I've showed you this video before, I believed all 4 perpetrators knew one another. They all knew each other. Is that possible? Absolutely. Absolutely possible. It was a coordinated, ambushed attack, in my humble opinion. Dina, thank you so much for that, honey. We appreciate you. Now, when you look at the evidence, when you go to the website, look at all the evidence. These are the 4 documents that are so important. These are the 4 highly most important documents. The order that Hippler gave. He says they were all within walking distance. It was highly redacted. And I'm going to get that real quick. Within walking distance. Within walking distance, and then all redacted. Hopefully you can see this. Where did it go? Here it is. All right. All 4 perpetrators lived within walking distance of the crime scene and were familiar with the layout. And then he goes on to say that the 4th individual did not know the victims, but had a passing connection to one of them while noticing her shopping at approximately 5 weeks prior to the homicides. So if it wasn't the 4th one, and the fact that they lived within walking distance when they said that this guy drove, and we know about the car situation, that the car was not factually Koberger's. And the judge dismissed it, saying that, nope, Koberger, you are 100% guilty. We're going to offer you a plea deal to take the death penalty off, because they wouldn't remove the death penalty. because you remember, they've asked several times to take off the death penalty, to take it off, remove it, to strike it. They wouldn't even do that. So not only have they pinned an innocent man, but they went along in perpetrating the fraud and continued it, in my humble opinion. So why in the world would anyone cover up to protect the University of Idaho? Why? Why would they do something this awful to an individual knowing he's not guilty? And I want to show you something. I'm going to pull it up. I just thought of it. Totally just got me. I know we've seen this video. I have to turn off the volume, but I'm going to play this video again. And I know that this video right now is not in slow motion like the one that I had prior. But remember this video? Let me grab it. Do y'all remember this video that I showed you? Hey, Wicca Wicca. Does everybody remember this video? I do. I don't have it in slow motion right now, but it's going to play in fast motion. And I want you to realize this was Xana's old place she lived in before moving into 1122 King Road. And I want you to take a look at all the party friends. It's going to play fast. Now, isn't it wild that most of those party friends are in fact friends that what? That are all a part of this case. They've been named. They've been seen. They've been known. They know who these individuals were. Isn't that something else? I hope you guys caught some of what I caught and you catch on to what's going on. People said they didn't know these individuals. But something I noticed along the way that you might have noticed too are all the cop cam body cams that were called at 1122 King Road. All the complaints that were dialed into King Road, all the noise complaints, all of them. And they had something in common. You know, these footage. All these complaints had something in common. Shout out to Crinkly Toes who saved that video. What do you think they had in common?
Yeah, they did. Get on the damn door. Hey, who's the owner or who lives here?
I can go get them real quick.
Okay, thank you, please.
And remember in this video, the owner wasn't there. The person on the lease, the main person on the lease, Kaylee wasn't there. Just like she wasn't in the video here. I noticed that Kaylee and Maddie weren't in any of these photos. And comments that were made in 2022, the fact that the killer could be here in these pictures. A lot of people were saying, I wonder where Terry is now. I wonder where Jack Showalter is now. I wonder where so-and-so is now today. And I thought, wait 1 second. So Kaylee and Maddie weren't interested in all the wild parties. And all the complaints they got, there was only one that Kaylee was present that afternoon. But other than that, they got Maddie on the phone. I don't think that, honestly, they were from different fraternities, sororities. And Kaylee wasn't interested. Kaylee was like the mother hen. She didn't want to have all those parties there. She didn't want to get in any more trouble after the cop call with Rosenthal. And I remember something that I thought was a little off. That in the alternative perpetrators, they were so tight-knit in that house. They didn't let anyone in that house they didn't know. And that's what eliminated a total stranger, because the layout and the setup of that home was just not cohesive. It was not that you would know exactly where these people were, what rooms they had assigned. It had to have been somebody inside that knew. And when you look at the details of the court documents, especially because Anne was gagged from not sharing anything that she found inside of the U of I, totally 100% gagged. They said she could not use any of that as evidence. As evidence. And that's when Anne started to fight back. We have to dismiss these charges against this client. He's innocent. She kept telling us, he's innocent. He's innocent. And nobody believed him. And that makes me wonder who the leak was, even in the media. Somebody on the inside? Perhaps. But I will tell you it's something very interesting that I did find in the Moscow Police Department in the ISP documents. There are 2 statements in there from different witnesses that saw an individual in a tan sedan with spiky red hair, male, not only in the MPD department documents, but also in the ISP documents. There was, in fact, a man that totally contacted the ISP. And in fact, this person was labeled as a suspect. And that was 79, ISP 079. Let me grab the right one. There it is. Vehicle suspect involvement. Let me grab the document for you. There it is. Suspect vehicle involvement. They were following up on all these tips. And there was something that caught my eye at approximately 12:16, and this was on November 19th. They were following up on tips. And he says, I contacted so-and-so by phone to follow up on information he wanted to provide investigators. The phone call was recorded. The tip was regarding a light-colored 4-door sedan that he had an altercation with on November 11th, 2022. He described the driver of the sedan as a white male wearing a long beanie that covered his hair. Blank said the unknown male confronted him in an unprofessional manner about throwing his trash into a dumpster that belonged to the neighboring apartment complex. Blank said the unknown male stated he was the blank for the blank. For full details of the phone interview, refer to the audio recording. And there was another tip that he asked the Wyoming Highway Patrol to provide information on a subject, date of birth 1982. They got his information, and then on the 28th, they requested a center check for Washington registration through license plate reader database. I forwarded the email to the ISP detective Gideon Roberts. There were other people they had as suspects. And this one says Washington, 2021, a Toyota owner involvement suspect. Date of birth, 1982. Race unknown, sex male. A 1982. So there wasn't just that incident. The suspect was seen by the DoorDash driver. So who is this DoorDash driver? We always believed it was Molly McDonald or McMichael. I don't know why I call her McDonald. Molly McMichael. And she saw a tan sedan with a red spiky hair guy. And I wonder where they all are today. So the first person on the radar, I mean, we've always heard that David Loach this, David Loach that. Well, David Loach just graduated finally from the University of Idaho. You think he would have graduated like earlier, right? Because he was there. I thought he would have graduated with all of his friends. What's another name we've heard a lot about? David Barry. Have we all seen what happened to David Barry recently? David Barry. Well, he kept claiming his innocence, right? Remember this guy? Kept saying, I'm innocent, we're not gay lovers. They accused him of being so many different things, right? Well, just the other day, a congressman called him out for his rhetoric with Charlie Kirk, and he got fired from his job as a political, what was he, a political science, something with, oh my gosh, the University of Idaho. They fired him. Where's Dylan today? Dylan had been said to be at the University of Arizona. Let's see if that's true. Hold on. Someone said she was at the Arizona. There is a LinkedIn that shows her being in Arizona. I don't know if that's true or somebody made a fake profile. Who knows? But she moved out of the state. And of course, with her GoFundMe, she needed to relocate. And it says that she is living in Scottsdale. This is all court. I mean, public information, right? There's nothing nefarious about looking up public information. The media does it. Reporters do it. They document it. I don't know why it's on this, but it's all public information. DM's been seen in the clubs in Boise. Interesting. Is she on vacation? Let's see. What other names do you guys see? Jonah was given 40 months. I don't know if he's related at all. wearing Xana's shirt and moving to Arizona. Yep. It's been said that Xana is buried here in Arizona. Saeed, he's working at mattress firm. That's a name you don't hear too often. What happened to this guy? I mean, early on, let's see. This one's interesting. Adam. Where's Adam lately? Adam says he's in Florida, I believe. Sarasota, Florida. You know, in the documents too, I find very interesting that, I mean, you can find a lot of these people by where they interviewed them and what they put their hometown as. You can find that very easy. Yeah, they all seem very quiet. I think it's quiet before the storm. Saeed. Yeah, but you have to remember this. In the beginning, they said it was a crime of passion. So what crime and what passion? Obviously, the crime would be the unaliving. But who? Do we ever find out who ER is? Adam Lauda was... This one, some of these are really easy to break down if you've been following the case since the beginning. The names are really easy. I mean, Kaylee, if you guys go and look at her Instagram, some of these names line up with these reports, and it's really easy to identify who's who. Interview 005 was Adam Lauda, 22, from Buell. Yeah, absolutely. I believe the mayor was right. It was a crime of passion and a big, huge cover up. Mattress firm money laundering. Yeah, that's, I mean, how many mattresses do you think they sell, right? It's all sus to me. Passion is personal. Absolutely. A knife alone is personal. Abso-freaking-lutely. I would agree. I mean, some of these people you just don't hear about anymore. They've kind of faded away, except for, obviously, David B. I saw a couple of these, and I thought, you know what, let me just throw this up here. This was on 4chan early on. I don't know if you can see this or how clear it's going to be. You can't. Jack Katovich was mentioned. You can't see this because it's so blurry. Let me see if I get a better shot. I don't know how Jack Katovich could have been mentioned. I don't think he would have enough power to overpower anyone, let alone yield a weapon. But I digress. There could be a couple of people that basically held somebody down and assisted and got hurt themselves, and that's where the blood contact came from. I mean, you could have so many different theories floating out, you know, if you think about it. Who owns amongst them, who owns a SKS? Who owns an SKS? Well, I mean, I did see some people on Kaylee's Instagram that I thought looked kind of suspect. I mean, I did. I mean, I could show you. I don't know. Maybe she left us some clues. Let's see. Let's see if I can share this with you real quick. You can do a live dig for a few minutes. I found a couple of people that were a little suspect, but I mean, I can't just say somebody looks suspect because they do. I'm just saying that I always went to who she was following Looked at a couple people on here. There's a guy named Cole, which was interesting. And when you said SKS, where is he? This guy. When you said SKS, that's what got me thinking. No, that's not close to an SKS, but he did have another one. Oh, look at there. Interesting. Interesting. Who is that? Dude Live. All right. Interesting. He did have one on here that I saw him. Let's see what else. I know I saw another one in here. Yeah, there's some interesting stuff out there. I mean, you can always just go check out people out of curiosity. But I saw some interesting stuff up there too. A Winchester, yeah. Was Kay following Olivia? That's a good question. I don't know. Let's see. Let's go look. Was she following him? Olivia. I don't see. Nope, I don't see anything. Nope. I think it's that you spell it that way. I know she was following her younger sisters. Nope, I don't see anybody. I didn't go too far down this rabbit hole. I saw a few people. I was looking for the initials on most of these people that did interviews. But I didn't see anything that stood out to me as odd or too wild. And I have a feeling it wasn't anybody in her circle, in her group, that would do this to her. I felt like maybe it was somebody that she didn't allow parties or didn't allow them to come over, or perhaps had a falling out with, something of that nature. That's what I was thinking. So I don't know if that would have been the case, but again, we don't know. We definitely don't know who could have been that. A crime of passion. I'm wondering. I looked at her travel. I looked at other things that she has up here. There's a couple of really interesting pictures in here. If you haven't had a chance to go through the socials, definitely do that. There was something in the documents that caught my eye other than the tan car. And that was I think there was I don't want to say it unless I have it in front of me. Hold on, let me look. Does anybody know? No, Eric Gower has dark hair. He doesn't. This red spiky hair male really, I'm honed into this red spiky hair. Who is that? Red spiky hair. Okay. Within the first 48 hours, the mayor told the New York Times that it was a crime of passion. He did a whole half an hour interview. And this was before the police chief spoke out, the university spoke out. This was before anybody spoke out. The police chief the next day sat down with a reporter and he told him that the homicides were a crime of passion and that they responded to the home around 11 a.m. on Sunday after a caller reported an unconscious person. Look up Officer Tesdall's picture. A crime of passion. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I've seen Tesdall before. Okay. I've seen him before. But did he have spiky hair? I mean, I don't know if you would consider that red spiky hair. In the cop can, it did not look like he had red spiky hair that night. Grub truck. Grub truck. The only one that strikes me with red spiky hair red spiky hair. Oh my gosh. That's funny. I typed it. Never mind, you guys. I don't know who this is. Hold on, let me look. Red spiky hair. I don't see red spiky hair in red spiky hair. This is a hard one because they have scrubbed so much off of this. Red spiky hair. I don't see anybody who fits their party friends under red spiky hair. Let me do one more thing. Let me do one thing. Let me look at this. The only other person with red spiky hair is Jack Decor. Right? We've seen his picture a lot. We've seen... Let me get out of this and go back one. Let's see. Let's look over here and see if she left us any clues. Come on, Xana, we're counting on you. Let's see. This thing's frozen. Hold on. All I keep thinking is going back to that party picture. That party video, right? Yeah, I don't know. I'll keep going through these, but at the end of the day, where are all these people at that are the alternative perpetrators? Where could they possibly be? Well, I hope that we see some of these documents be released by the court. And I hope that we do see some type of movement in regards to a post-conviction relief on behalf of Brian Kohberger. Because why should an innocent person sit in prison for something they factually did not do? I'm going to keep digging. Somebody says pain. No, he has no hair, Chaos Queen. He has no hair. But until then, I'm going to keep digging right along with you guys. So as always, be well. Thanks for joining the stream today. I asked for footage from the corner bar. I asked for the footage. I asked for some other documents too. So we'll see if those FOIAs are. Let's see if they release them. So everyone, take care. Be well. The public really needs the survivors to open up and go deep. It is a shame. It is a total miscarriage of justice, I believe. So stay tuned. Watch out for a video I'm about to drop. And I am going to go live with the beautiful, wonderful TikToker tonight. Make sure you tune in. If you're watching the TikTok, I'll be live tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be well.